Okay, hi everyone. So, today's lesson will be all about mechanical energy. Okay, lagi nating naririnig yung term na mechanical energy, pero ano nga ba yung ibig sabihin niya? Okay, so pag-uusapan natin yan dito and we are going to solve four problems that are related to these. Okay, we all know that when I say mechanical energy, it is one of the forms of energy that we have. Pero ano nga ba yung ibig sabihin niyan? Para mas maintindihan natin yung ibig sabihin ng mechanical energy, let's just first define that. When I say mechanical energy, it is the energy of an object due to its motion and position. Okay, so ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng definition na to? So let's just focus first on the term motion and then on the term position. So pag sinabi nating motion and position, they are always intertwined with each other. Pag sinabi po nating intertwined, they are always together. So lagi silang pinagsasama. So kapag sinabi mong motion, sinasabi mo din yung position. Kung hindi parate, maybe most of the time. Pero ano bang ibig sabihin ng motion kasi? So basically, pag sinabi po nating motion, it is also known as the movement. So when I say movement in Tagalog, gumagalaw ka. So, ibig sabihin, pag sinabi nating mechanical energy, it is your energy when you are moving. And you have to know, and you have to realize that when you are actually moving, you are changing your position. Okay? So, when you are changing your position, you are moving. And as you change your position, meron kang mechanical energy. Okay? Same thing, if you are on a particular or a specific position, you also have the mechanical energy. So, ano yung ibig sabihin nito? Okay? Pag sinabi po nating mechanical energy, it is your energy while you are moving and at the same time when you are not moving. Okay? So, that is mechanical energy. Now, we have two types of mechanical energy. Ang unang type niya ay yung tinatawag natin na potential energy. And the second one is also known as the kinetic energy. So, what is the difference between these two types of mechanical energy? So, una, pag sinabi po nating potential energy, it has something to do with position. So, kung babalikan natin kanina, yung ibig sabihin ng position, if you are not moving, then you are not changing your position. So, if you are not moving, you are on a particular position. So, if you are on a particular position, the energy that you are possessing is called the potential energy. Tignan natin, I'm going to show you a picture of an object that shows potential energy. So as you can see here, yung batang babae, meron siyang hawak na bola. So basically, i-assume natin na yung bola na to ay hawak-hawak ng babae and yung babae hindi niya ginagalaw yung bola. So ibig sabihin, pag hindi niya ginagalaw yung bola, it is not changing its position. It's just on a particular position. So what's the position of the ball? So this is the position of the ball. It's not changing. Okay? So it's on a specific location. Okay? So if this ball or if this object is not changing its position, ang tawag natin sa energy that it is possessing is potential energy. Okay? So basically, pag potential energy, this is your energy when you are not moving or when you are on a specific position. Okay? So I hope that's clear. Let's move on to the kinetic energy. So if potential energy is all about position, okay, kinetic energy on the other hand, is all about motion. So, like what we have said earlier, when we say motion, ito yung tinatawag natin na movement or yung paggalaw. Okay, let me just show you a picture of an object that shows motion. So, we're going to use the same picture, but this time you can see there the arrow. And kanina, hawak-hawak nung batang babae yung bola. But this time, hindi na niya hawak-hawak. So, kapag binatawan niya yung bola, mahuhulog yung bola. So pag nahulog yung bola, it means it's changing its position. Or in other words, it is moving down. So basically, these arrows are representing the direction and the movement of the ball at the same time. So as you can see, no, bumaba yung bola or nahulog yung bola. So as it moves down to the ground, then basically, it's already moving. It's already in motion. In other term, or in other words, the ball is possessing an energy while it's moving, and that energy is called the kinetic energy. Now let's move on to the real agenda. Ano ba yung agenda natin yun? So for today's lesson, we are going to solve for potential energy, and kinetic energy, we're going to solve problems that are related to these two types of mechanical energy. But before we move on to that, let's first talk about the formula or the equations that we are going to use. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the potential energy. So if we are talking about mechanical energy, ang unang-unang variable na pwede nating i-consider dito is basically the potential energy. But if you're solving for problems that are related to potential energy, no? So most of the time, ang kinukuha natin ay yung tinatawag natin na GPE. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng GPE? Well, basically, GPE means gravitational potential gravitational potential energy. So it's just a potential energy. I mean, it's just a type of potential energy that is respecting the influence of the gravity. So bakit natin kino-consider yung gravity? Because the gravity is influencing the object that we are going to talk about. So yun yung tinatawag natin na gravitational potential energy. Okay? So pag sinabi natin gravitational potential energy, so isulat mo lang yung GPE, ibig sabihin yan, yun na yun, gravitational potential energy. So for you to know how to solve for this one, so bibigay ko na lang yung ating formula. But again, in other problems, there are instances that you have to derive the formula first. So the formula or the basic formula for GPE is equal to mgh. So let's talk about this mgh. We all know that GP is gravitational potential energy. How about m, g, and h? So basically, pag sinabi po nating m, it's basically your mass. When you say mass, it's the mass of the object. Okay? So, ano ba yung unit natin pag mass? So, lagi yan, kilograms. Okay? That's the basic, or that's the base unit for mass. So, pwedeng 20 kilograms, 2 kilograms. So, I advise that if it's not expressed in kilograms, then you convert that into kilograms. For example, yung problem natin ay 200 grams. So that is not the base unit of mass. So para mas mabilis tayo at mas smooth yung pagsasolve natin, you first convert that grams into kilograms. Okay? Kasi kilograms dapat. Okay? For the gravitational potential energy, you cannot really find it as a given value. Okay? Hindi mo siya mahanap doon sa problem natin because this one is constant. So I hope you are familiar with the gravitational acceleration of the Earth. So yung gravity dito na tinatawag natin, yung G dito is yung tinatawag natin na gravity. Okay? So when we say gravity, no, it varies, no, it depends on the planet. So ibig sabihin, pag nandito ka sa planet Earth, you're going to consider specific constant value. But when you move to other planets, for example, you go to the Mars, you cannot use the gravity or the constant value of the gravity here on Earth. So ang gagamitin mong value doon ay yung syempre yung gravity ng Mars. But since most of our contexts are here on Earth, basically ang gagamitin natin is the gravitational acceleration of the Earth, which is 9.8 meters per second square or meters per second per second. So again, 9.8 meters per second is not applicable in all problems, no, na related sa GPE. First, you have to analyze. Ano ba yung sinasabi ng problem? Nasaan ba yung object? Nandun ba sa moon? Kasi kung nandun sa moon, you cannot use 9.8 meters per second square. Okay? Yung 9.8 meters per second square, dito lang natin siya magagamit sa Earth. Okay? And then for h, that will be your height. Okay? So pag sinabi natin height, so basically, no, sometimes the unit of that, or most of the time I should say, yung unit natin dyan is meters. So it's better that we also convert that to meters. Okay? So if it's in kilometers, then mas maganda, mas smooth yung pagsasolve pag convert mo siya sa meters. Okay? Now let's move on to the kinetic energy. So kinetic energy is represented by capital letter K and E. So basically, it only means kinetic energy. Okay, so what's the formula for kinetic energy? So kinetic energy is equal to 1 over 2 mv square. So sometimes 1 over 2 or 1/2 is replaced with 0.5. But either way, that's still correct. 0.5 or 1/2, okay lang din naman. But what are the variables under this formula? So as you can see there, you have m and v. M means mass. And again, like the gravitational potential energy, when we say mass, it's expressed with the unit kilogram. So that's the base unit. So ibig sabihin, kapag hindi siya naka-kilogram, i-convert mo siya sa kilogram. And then we also have here V, which means velocity. So I hope you are familiar with the term velocity already. So pag sinabi natin velocity in Tagalog, ibig sabihin niyan is yung bilis. Okay, gaano ka ba kabilis maglakad? Gaano ka kabilis tumakbo? Okay, so basically that's called velocity. And velocity is an important variable here because we are talking about movement. Siyempre, pag gumagalaw ka, may velocity ka. Okay? So, pag sinabi nating velocity, the unit for that is meters per second. So, again, let me just highlight the formulas. So, we have GPE is equal to mass times gravity times height. And for kinetic energy, we have the KE is equal to 1/2 mv square. Okay, now let's proceed to the solving. So let's have our first problem. So a 9 kilogram ball is placed on top of a 2-meter cliff. Solve for its gravitational potential energy. Okay. So ang una natin gagawin ay isusulat muna natin yung mga given natin. So I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the GRESA method na tinatawag natin, but let's just simplify that. So first, let's list down the given values. So if you're going to analyze the problem, again, a ball is on top of a cliff. So ibig sabihin ng cliff, nasa height siya, nasa bangin, for example. So what are the given values here? As you can see here, you have the term, or you have the value 9 kilogram. So that's the numerical value with the unit kilogram. Um, Basically, since it's 9 kilograms, it's expressed with the unit kilogram, then this is basically your mass, right? Okay. Now, the question is, do you have to convert that? Not anymore, because it's already in kilograms. Okay. The next one is the 2 meters. Okay. 2 meters, which is your cliff. So basically, cliff, ibig sabihin nasa height siya. So 2 meters is your height. Okay. And it says here, solve for its gravitational potential energy. Okay? So, parang madali na lang tong first problem natin kasi what we are looking for the required, we're looking for the GPE or the gravitational potential energy. So, how are we going to solve for that? Okay? So, lagi nyo tatandaan na kapag dalawa lang yung given nyo sa mga ganitong problem, there is a hidden value. Ano yung hidden value natin? Yun yung value of G or the gravity. So, G, which is the hidden value, you can just include it here. G is equal to 9.8 meters per second square. Now, for your solution, okay, madali lang naman tong isolve. Direct substitution lang tayo. So, what we're going to do here is first write down the formula that you're going to use. That is GPE is equal to M times G times height. Then, you just copy the given values. For M, that's 9 kilograms. And then for G, it's already constant, 9.8 meters per second square. And then for H, that is 2 meters. So 9 times 9.8 times 2, that will give you 176.4. Now, what's the unit for energy? So lagi nyo tatandaan that the unit of energy is joule. Okay, or capital letter J. So this is the unit of energy, regardless if it's a chemical energy or other forms of energy, basta energy siya, joule yung lagi natin gagamitin. So therefore, our answer here will be 176.4 joules. So that's your final answer. Okay, so for our next problem, so it says here, a ball with a mass of 500 grams is lifted onto a shelf which is 1.5 meters above the ground. Calculate the gravitational potential energy gained by the ball. So if you're going to imagine this problem, so naglagay sila ng bola doon sa taas ng shelf. Tapos yung shelf natin, ang kanyang height ay 1.5 meters. If yung mass ng ating ball is 500 grams, then ano kaya yung gravitational potential energy natin? Right, the given values. So ano ba yung mga given values natin nakikita nyo? So first we have the 500 grams, okay, which is basically your mass. And then we have the 1.5 meters. So 1.5 meters. So this is your height, okay? If you're going to take a look at the mass, it says 500 grams. So it is expressed in this unit, grams. So like what we have said earlier, when we say mass, it should be in kilograms. So the first thing that you're going to do is to first convert 500 grams into kilograms. So if you're going to convert that using your conversion factors, okay, so I hope you're familiar with how we're going to convert this one. So I'll just write here the converted value already. So this is 0.5 kilograms. So if you want to verify, you can solve it on your own, okay, using the conversion factor. So we have here the mass, the height, and then we also have here the hidden value, which is the gravity. Okay, later on we will just write the gravity, the value of the gravity on the solution. So for the required, we're looking for the gravitational potential energy again, or the GPE. So this is what's missing. So the next thing that you're going to do is to, of course, um, solve the problem now. So this will be your solution. So write the basic formula, that's GPE is equal to mass times gravity times height. So copying the values for the mass, you will use 0.5 kilograms. Okay, 0.5 kilograms. Okay, and for the gravity, it's not given no by the problem. We cannot say it on the problem, but it's always constant. So your gravity will be 9.8 meters per second squared, and for your height, it's already here. That's 1.5 meters. So that will give you 0.5, which is the mass, and then 9.8, which is the gravity, times the height, which is 1.5. Okay? So again, get your calculator, bring out your calculator, that will be 0.5 times 9.8 times 1.5. That will give you 7.35 joules. Okay, so let's move on to our next problem. It says here, a car with a mass of 700 kilograms is moving with a speed of 20 meters per second. So take note that speed is sometimes the same with velocity. So we can just say that speed here means velocity. Calculate the kinetic energy of the car. So if you're going to analyze the problem, a car is as heavy as 700 kilograms. Now that car is moving at a rate of 20 meters per second. So we're going to compute or solve for its kinetic energy. So first, you just have to write the given values. So we have here first 700 kilograms. So since it's already in kilograms, you don't have to convert anymore. And then you have here velocity, which is 20 meters per second. Okay, so what we're going to do is to calculate the kinetic energy. So for the required, we are going to solve for the kinetic energy. Okay, so can you still recall our formula for kinetic energy? That is kinetic energy. Oh, by the way, this is your solution. Okay, so that is kinetic energy is equal to 1 over 2 or 1 half mv square. So we will just copy the given values. So you just bring down 1 over 2 here, and then your mass is 700 kilograms, and then your velocity is 20 meters per second, and that is squared. So for the next step, you can just directly use 1 half in your calculator. You can just input 1 half there. But sometimes for you to understand this one better, you can just do 1 divided by 2. So 1 divided by 2 will give you 0.5 times 700 kilograms times, so that will give you 20 square. So 20 times 20, that will give you 400 meters per second. Okay, so now we can simply solve for the final answer. So that will be 0.5 times 700 times 400, that will give you 140,000. Okay, so what will be the unit of this? It's still a form of energy. It's still an example of energy. Okay, so basically we'll use joule. So the answer here is 140,000 joules. So that's all for today's lesson. I hope you learned something. Bye.